Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paulette, and yes, I'm running for governor of Idaho. I really appreciate the comments from our previous speaker, and congratulations to him. When I served in the private sector, and I still do, in fact, I represent a national industry in tourism, gaming, and other economic health for communities rurally all across the country. So we're constantly dealing with technology. So I do appreciate the relationship that the Idaho Technology Council has created in our state. Oftentimes I'm asked to speak, whether it's at Harvard or internationally, which next year I'll be going to Beijing to talk about the future of work. And the challenges are promoted in terms of how we leave out our children with constant reconstruct of education. And as we see now, the challenges are how do legislators update themselves with all the proper data, as we're talking about data. And I see that artificial intelligence has been on the rise and all these new innovations. And as I'm talking to our future leaders all across the world, these young people, they're telling me how they want to get more into coding and getting into the soft skills, finance management, etc. And as we're looking at the ongoing construct of automation replacing many of our people in these jobs, the challenges remain that we have to keep up our education system with this future of work. So, as governor, one of the ideas that I continue to promote is expanding broadband in our state. I'm from rural Idaho, by the way, which is North Idaho, if any of you have ever been. But North Idaho and much of rural Idaho presents a lot of challenges. Most of our communities don't have access to not only the communications broadband or fiber optics, but we also lack support in healthcare and higher educational needs to help our children meet the global market that is now expanding in so many ways. And because we're able to communicate very directly versus the years of past, that really presents more challenges for our young people who are trying to become more competitive. Because now they're competing with kids next door in Beijing or in Taiwan and India. And so here in our state, I've watched how this growth or lack thereof has really promoted a major barrier for our future. However, what I'm seeing, and of course I've experienced in some other areas, is some great usage of how we're implementing VOTEC training, and of course how some of our local schools here in this separate taxing district in Boise has benefited some of our schools. But that in itself, while great, I want to see that throughout the rest of our state. But this comes in terms of us ensuring that we're promoting not only social entrepreneurship, but ensuring that our community at large is engaging with their young people, which means we have to start STEM programming earlier. STEM programming in primary schools, ensuring that we have an earlier onset universal pre-K program. My sons, in fact, benefited from this program, which was actually incredible. They were learning STEM values, math and sciences, learning to read and write much earlier on. And as Idaho is looking to address these challenges, because we are at the top of the pack when it comes to our growing tech sector, we are seeing that the retiring generation is not being met with the younger generations who are trained or ready to take on these new roles. So looking at all the barriers, this is a way to address them. Ensuring that yes, we have STEM programs earlier on. Many of you may have heard about the 7,000 unfilled STEM jobs last year alone. Few? Thank you. Thank you. I'm just trying to make sure y'all are awake right now. It's an afternoon. I had a long day myself. But honestly, as I'm looking at our education system, I'm looking at really what is it that we can do to promote not only growth in our economy, but ensuring that our kids are prepared. So yes, it's going to come down to education, just hands down. But what I'm looking at right now is how are we going to build into that future. And next year, when we're talking about going to Beijing with Harvard, I was telling them that with artificial intelligence on the rise and we have cybersecurity here in our state, Idaho can truly become a front runner, a real leader when it comes to energy and growing our energy sector. Because right now we have de-incentivized our energy industry. We have closed off incentives for solar and wind. We're not expanding in geothermal or biomass. The INL, which is doing some great research there, becoming a leader with small modular reactors, of course coming up with more cutting-edge research and innovation. That information we can utilize, but also use to implement for the entire western region. So companies are looking to develop here, but we have to create this free marketplace for them. And right now there are some challenges. So we have to get government out of the marketplace, which is, to me, one of the frustrations. I watched this in North Idaho because as a businesswoman, I've taken on this role as a national business leader. And as I've worked to bring in contracts to my area in North Idaho, some of the challenges were that we lacked training. We don't have the same relationships as we did back then, now as we did back then, looking for folks who were trained in welding or sewing, carpentry, etc. And of course, fast forward, we created these programs in local community colleges, but this is really what I've faced and experienced, and I see that this is why workforce development is key. Because we also have a lot of folks who are in other fields that need to be retrained to advance not only into energy, but into other tech sectors. So I'm well aware as a businesswoman, the challenges we face and how businesses will not thrive if our people are not educated. Now, when I look at the future of Idaho, I'm not only looking at STEM programming and, of course, advancing in road tech training, but how is it that we can build in our unions who are looking to build with local high schools and on apprenticeship programs. So that is in and of itself going to grow in our state, and I want to see that expand. Of course, there's many opportunities here in Idaho because there are multiple companies who are coming through. We have the FBI data center that's coming into Pocatello. I was just talking to the mayor of Pocatello about this and saying how great it would be to not only expand in these data centers, but really utilizing the cybersecurity program at the Idaho National Laboratory, and how this could really advance in more private tech sector jobs and continue to advance in a lot of our school systems if they are married into these, not only these universities, but these institutions and into the private sector. So I see multiple opportunities coming down the pipeline, but again, if you don't have the leadership that's willing to invest in education and in these frontline developments, and of course, we see a lot of the good here in Boise, especially at Sage International. I don't know if a lot of you are paying attention to these young kids, but we have a lot of young entrepreneurs who are expanding in their areas, doing great work, and are going to be out into the world doing more fabulous, innovative work. But again, if you do not have the leadership to support that and expand that throughout our state, the rest of Idaho suffers. So I don't want this to turn into kind of a debate between the Lieutenant Governor and myself, but how I see our future being the new versus the old, I think is going to be very challenging. So as a lot of young people are looking to a leader of the future, they're going to be looking to someone who is going to be competitive, who's going to open up our marketplace and look towards building an ecosystem that equates to a much stronger economy. And I see that when we look into energy options and we look into building up the tech industry as far as Micron goes, which is attracting a lot of new tech companies. Albertsons, which is great, and thank you for your support here. But this is how I see myself as a national business leader utilizing my experience and skills to help Idaho. So that being said, I want to thank you all for this time. I'm going to see you all. I guess we have the city address of the Boise mayor. I want to make sure that you all know that other advancements that I have, I'd like you to take a look at my website and visit my platform there. Of course, I'm here and easily accessible in Boise and hope to answer many of your questions there. So thank you for this time.